I feel like the mindset towards this, it's just no big deal. No big deal. We'll just put her on the pill. It's a big deal. You've cut off the signaling hormones, and what guarantee do we have that they will start back whenever we want them to? So I'm not saying I have revelation from heaven on this, that I'm saying my observation and things that I read, it gives me concern, gives me pause. And I feel like there needs to be a deeper discussion, a deeper dive into what's going on in the woman's life that has led to the yucky symptoms. Hey everyone, it's Lucy with New Beginnings Wellness Center and Spa, back to talk about part 2 of the menstrual cycle. So we've been having some fun here behind the scenes, laughing about kind of how we treat women and the whole conversation about their periods. And I guess I could say we've improved some in that we don't make women leave the village like we used to, and literally they had to go away for a week. So thank heavens we've evolved beyond that. But then now we still are so disrespectful to women and their experience with this very natural thing, and we make fun of it, and we tell women, oh, you're just mad because you're on your period. We diminish women's emotions, and we say things like, oh, Shark Week, or, you're on the rag again, aren't you? And I mean, I can laugh just as much as the next person, and we have killed ourselves laughing, and I'm trying to be really controlled right now. But I feel like we do women a huge disservice because this is a real medical problem. This is very much underaddressed. It's not recognized as a legitimate medical problem beyond the control of the woman experiencing it. And I've said in previous videos, I did one specifically on PMS, and I was basically explaining to men that this is not something we sign up for, and that there are actual organic reasons why some women's hormones seem to not do as well or behave very erratically compared to their friends or even family members. So that's kind of the purpose of these 2 videos, is to give a little background into what the complexity of the endocrine system, how beautifully designed we are, that the women's menstrual cycle and her monthly period is for procreation. It makes us uniquely female. I think it's actually quite interesting and beautiful, as I'm a science nerd, and as I have for the last 9 years, studied intently men's and women's hormones. So I'm here, yes, to laugh, because we like to laugh, but I'm also here offering some solutions and some strategizing so that women are not just walking around miserable, that they're feeling like that they can't open their mouths and tell the people in their lives, like their husbands or their boyfriends or their significant others, because they don't feel like they'll be taken seriously. And that's what I'm hoping we can overcome, and that you will share these videos, and that brothers, if you are watching this, men, husbands, boyfriends, that you'll be like, yeah, maybe I'm a little bit of a jerk, to my sister, to my mom, to my girlfriend. And you'll just be like, I can do better, because now I understand this is a medical issue, and that my loved one should not be poked fun at, but she should be offered a candy bar and an Epsom salts bath, and given a hug, not use some derogatory slang term to minimize her or her experience. So in the previous video, I mentioned about estrogen detoxification, how important that is to overall hormone balance, and that the problem with a mean, angry, painful, or heavy period, or all of the above, is not that your ovaries are making too much of anything. They're doing what they're designed to do, and that feedback mechanism, those signaling hormones coming from the brain to the ovaries, is doing its job, but it's an issue at its root of detoxification. And so in my mind, if a woman is offered a birth control pill, let's stop a moment. Let's talk about what is a birth control pill, first of all, because I really don't think the average layperson has any clue what this thing is. It is made up of synthetic estrogen and or progestin. Sometimes one or the other, but most often both. And the way that it works to prevent pregnancy, very much in a nutshell, is remember those signaling hormones I talked about? Well, women have two really important ones. Men have them too, but in women, it's FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone. Those two are signaling the ovaries at various times in various amounts throughout the whole month, telling the ovaries to do certain things. So those signaling hormones are actually cut off, basically, when a woman swallows every day a birth control pill, or she receives some kind of an injection or implant. Because there's various methods of these contraceptives, or if she's using one vaginally, or the IUD, whatever the case might be. Basically, at its root, they're interrupting that whole feedback mechanism that those hormones are telling the ovaries to make eggs and to do things. And that's essentially how it works. So let's pause and ponder that a moment, and say a girl goes to her mama takes daughter to GYN at 14 years of age because she's having a gushing tsunami, horrific bloodbath every month, and the GYN is they're trained to, God love them, they're trained to address that symptom because we want it fixed, and we want it fixed now. So we're going to put this young girl who's basically her cycle is not even well established probably yet, and we're going to put her on that, and she might be on it for 10 plus years. And what did I tell you it's doing? Basically, I know this is very much in a nutshell, but it's stopping the signaling hormones. So I feel like there's just this underlying assumption here that that's just automatically going to start back up down the road, however many years, maybe when the woman's 30, she's married or ready to try to conceive a child. And she's been on an oral or implanted or vaginal contraceptive for half her life. And there's this assumption that that's going to all start back up just fine. And we're going to go on and be able to conceive in a reasonable period of time. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if I'm seeing all the delicate flowers and all the people that things just really interact weirdly with, but I'm here to tell you, and I have not a pile of studies to point at to tell you, like I have like actual meta-analysis of blah, blah, many randomized controlled trials to like tell you what I think and that it's the gospel. But my observation and my experience is that's not necessarily true. So there's that concern I have with that very one-dimensional approach to a nasty period, is what is the potential long-term detrimental outcome? That those signaling hormones just won't start back up just right, or in a reasonable period of time, or ever. So I feel like that needs to be thrown out there. And moms, any of you listening that have daughters, I don't care how old they are, and you have a daughter with a period problem, I need you to do some homework and ask a lot of questions before a birth control contraceptive type solution is offered to you, because that is not all that's available. Because as I mentioned in the previous video, and I've mentioned before, this is a multi-layered issue. It's environmental, it's nutritional, it's in the liver, it's other nutrient deficiencies, it's how is the thyroid doing. There's so many factors at play that speak to hormone balance. So I have grave concerns about this casual, almost like, let's go get you on the pill so that this can stop. And that has been, I feel like, the mindset towards this. It's just no big deal. No big deal. We'll just put her on the pill. It's a big deal. You've cut off the signaling hormones, and what guarantee do we have that they will start back whenever we want them to? So I'm not saying I have revelation from heaven on this, that I'm saying my observation and things that I read, it gives me concern, gives me pause. And I feel like there needs to be a deeper discussion, a deeper dive into what's going on in the woman's life that has led to the yucky symptoms that are so unpleasant. And I'm very sympathetic to how unpleasant they are. Now, I will say quickly that if I am meeting with a young woman who is sexually active and needs birth control to prevent pregnancy, then that is a completely different conversation. So let me make sure you understand that I do not have my head in the sand about even teenage girls who are sexually active. And that is a different discussion than this one we're having about hormone balance. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So what are our other options and strategies for helping calm down the period and make it more tolerable? I mentioned nutrition. I mentioned trying to clean up the environment. I mentioned overall decreasing the toxic burden on the liver. And there are a couple of supplements that I tend to go to. And I will tell you, in my experience, the large majority of the time, this very simple regimen is very successful. Now, the thing is, it's not a Z-Pack. It doesn't have like that in a few minutes, by next week, improvement. And I always am careful to explain to the patient that there has to be a level of patience here and a commitment to the process. But if someone has been suffering for quite a few months or years, a couple of more months in the grand scheme of things, if they're really committed to getting at this at the root cause, I would say the large majority of my patients have been very cooperative and compliant and okay with that, knowing that. But I'm always careful to make sure they are well informed as we begin the journey. So I want to optimize the other nutrient levels. I want to optimize the vitamin D. I want to address any anemia, because if the period's been horrifically heavy, oftentimes there is a pretty pronounced iron situation, an iron depletion, an iron store depletion, which will make women feel very tired, make them feel cold, have cold hands and feet, and cause their hair to fall out. And I had a woman come back after I was correcting her iron store problem, and she said, for the first time in my life, my hands are not blocks of ice. It had taken several months, but getting that iron and that consistency of that into her system and working on her period and making it less obnoxious, that was her chief praise report, is her hands were better. So there are all of those things that I look at in the blood work. I look deeply at the thyroid to make sure it is performing well, because if it is not performing well, you will see a loss of the period. You will see a nasty, heavy period. There's so many things that there's relationship between the thyroid and overall hormone balance. So I always look carefully at that to make sure there's not something that's not been uncovered there, even in a, say, 12, 13-year-old girl. As I've mentioned before, I have seen autoimmune thyroid disease in young girls, which can impact the quality and overall regularity and peacefulness of the period. So we have to address all of that. And then some of the supplements I use, as one is extremely popular in the integrative world. It's called DIM, D-I-M, and it's an acronym, and it stands for diindol methane, which is basically a derivative of what you consume in eating cruciferous vegetables. So those types of vegetables are extremely healthy and important in estrogen detoxification. And so I encourage those in the diet, but then I like to use a more concentrated dose through a supplement. And the supplement that I recommend has DIM in it, and it has some other components that support that cascade of how estrogen is broken down and detoxified in the body. So as I mentioned, it's not because you're making too much estrogen that you're having a problem. It's that you're not detoxifying well. And so we support those liver pathways and help your body do that. And then the other thing I like to do is I like to optimize your other complementary hormone to estrogen, which is progesterone. And I can do that through a supplement, especially in young girls, teenagers, young 20s, women that are not anywhere, it's not anywhere on their radar to worry about conception and making a human. So for those young women, I like to just use natural things, and I use a product that contains maca. and contains chaste tree and some things that have been around literally since the Garden of Eden because they're plant-based, and they've been used in women's health and women's fertility for thousands of years. And all that those do, they are not hormones in and of themselves. What they do is they nourish the feedback mechanism from the brain to the ovaries so that you are naturally supporting that hormone production, and specifically the progesterone hormone. And so the DIM in combination with those other nutrients, and it takes a couple, 3 months. I've had some women come back in 4 weeks and be like, hallelujah, the angels have sung, I'm so much better. Some of my patients, it takes a little bit longer, but because everyone that walks in here, you're the only you I ever take care of. So I can't ever say with 100% certainty how some particular regimen might work for you. So I always say in my experience, here's what I've noticed. But that little simple regimen, along with optimizing vitamin D, trying to clean up the environment in those ways we've already mentioned, I find the large majority of my patients get much better, like dramatically so. And it's so encouraging and exciting to be able to use very simple strategies and with a lot of education and support that I can help women feel better in their period, just like, oh, hey, it's my period. No big deal. And that's how it should be. It should be like, yeah, I'm pretty regular. I should be starting, in the next day or two, fairly dependable and just uneventful, that you just check it off. Like, yep, it's here, hallelujah, you're not pregnant, bye. That's just how it should be. And we can do that. And I want you to know that. I want you to know that I'm kind of appalled by this casual prescribing of contraceptives for young women when that is not addressing the root cause of the problem you went to talk about. That is a Scooby-Doo Band-Aid on your severed artery. Bye-bye, you're welcome, next. That's the mentality. And that's not what we do here. So I'm a root cause girl, like I'm getting fired up. Because there's so many young people out there that are just suffering with a nasty period, and they have no idea there's an answer for that there's an easy almost solution. And it's a perfect example that this young woman comes in my office literally today and is like, God, my sister is so miserable. What's up with that? What can you do? And I just start rattling off. Actually, since I've been talking to you, I've already sent that girl an email with a recommendation of some supplements. And then I can follow up with her by phone in a couple of weeks and make sure she's doing okay and make any necessary adjustments. Because these are very safe strategies, even for teenagers. I find that most of my teenage girls, when they know that they're gonna feel better, are very compliant, so moms don't have to just fight with the daughters over taking their supplements. And I want you to be just aware that you just don't have to put up with it. I think that's another mentality, is this is just part of being a girl and I've just gotta suck it up. Well, that is not the case, so don't think that anymore. And if you're not local to me, I can still work with you virtually. I would love to help bring you vitality, quality of life, and peaceful hormones. So thank you so much, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.